What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is Celebrity Big Brother, Season 3, Episode 7. So, hold up. A lot went on in last night's episode. So, let's start at the beginning, work our way to the end. So, the beginning, we know we pick up with Cynthia and Carson being put on the block. And, you know, it was expected. Nobody is surprised. It is what it is. Cynthia, though, somehow feels like Todrick should have given her a heads up based on the fact that they used to be in an alliance. Cynthia, baby, I hate to be the one to tell you, but Todrick was never really in your alliance, okay? Todrick agreed to be in your alliance until the cool kids called him. And in his mind, Misha is the cool kids. And so as soon as the cool kids called and invited him to the cookout, he said he wasn't coming to your sleepover. Okay, that's just how that went down. So, Chris Kilpatrick comes up with a great... Because first Carson says something about when he wins the power veto, he's going to give it to Cynthia so Cynthia can work with Shayna. Yeah, that was never going to be a good idea. Well, I'm not going to say it was... because they want you, Carson. So putting... You letting Cynthia off the block and you keeping yourself on the block wasn't going to work because that's what they wanted. Then Chris Kilpatrick realizes, hey, I'm in the middle of this house, me and Shayna... and so we're going to have to maneuver some things because we're going to let them pick us off one by one, and eventually it's going to be at me. If we don't stop them now, then we need to make it happen. So the reality of the situation was Chris Kilpatrick came up with a great idea. Todrick sees Chris coming. And he realizes that Chris has been acting a little funky, and he realizes it's aimed at him. And so once again, he gets in Misha's ear about Chris. Misha ain't thinking about Chris. Misha was like, well, Chris is on my team. Chris is on my side. Me and Chris don't have no problems. Why would I be looking at Chris? But Todrick is like this. And listen, Penn, Todrick is playing a great game. Now, whether we like him at the end of this game or not, that remains to be seen. But ain't nobody going to sit here and say Todrick ain't playing. Oh, Todrick is playing. But neither here nor there. He's in Misha's ear because Chris ain't after Misha. Chris is after Todrick. And somehow Todrick feels it. He feels it. He's an empath. He feels the energy has shifted. And he starts putting that little ding, ding, ding in Misha's ear. So everything sort of kind of is put on hold until the power veto competition is played. Because there's really no need in making any grand decisions until we know what the decision is that needs to be made. Well, before we can get to the power veto, Chris Kattan, and in my opinion, they've been very vague. I feel like this was a mental health, decision. Chris Kattan has decided to leave the game. He hasn't been feeling well, but I don't think it's physical. I think it's mental. I don't think he had any physical injury or any physical ailment. He said he was feeling better, then he wasn't feeling good again. And like I said, honestly, I feel like he just wasn't in a good mental space to be in the house any longer. He said he wanted to go home, and honestly, I know everybody wanted Mariah out of the game, but when that man stood up and said, send me home, I kind of feel like y'all should have gave him what he wanted. I don't know. But instead, he ends up going home. And then part of me was thinking, oh, well, maybe they won't do like a real eviction this week. But because this is such an accelerated game, they was like, oh, well, we're going to have to keep this thing rolling. So they went on with the veto. Chris did give at first he just left a note. But then eventually he did do a video goodbye to everyone. And he went person by person and said a personal goodbye to all of them. So before we get ready to play this veto competition, Lamar Odom and Todrick Hall have this conversation about the veto. Here's what I haven't figured out yet. I still haven't figured out if Lamar's playing. Because Lamar acted like he didn't even know what the power veto was, what the power veto did. Because he was like, I'm going to save Cynthia. And Todrick was like, well, why would you save Cynthia if we want to get Carson out? And he was like, because I'm saving Cynthia, why do we care? And he was like, because Cynthia will come off the block and she can vote to keep Carson. And Lamar was like, and Todrick was like, but don't we want Cynthia to go home? Carson to go home? He was like, yeah, we want Carson to go home, right? So why can't I save Cynthia? It's like it was so funny because Todrick was like, I don't know what game Lamar Odom is playing, but he is not playing Big Brother. And again, I haven't figured out whether Lamar Odom is just that. Like, his agent called him and was like, look, I gotta wait for you to make a quick however many thousands of dollars they get paid for being on the show. Or if he really watches the show and he's playing games. I ain't figured that part out yet. I really hope he's playing. Woo. So anyway, we get to the power veto competition, and it's one of those competitions where they had to ride on this horse, like the little toy horses that you would outside of the grocery store where you just lean back and forth on. So they had to do that 90 times, and once they got to 90, then they had to go try to build this thing made out of snowflakes. And they had small snowflakes and big snowflakes, you know, to build a wall with the snowflakes. And whoever you only had 90 seconds every time you did it. You had 90 seconds to play around and try to build your wall. And at the end of 90 seconds, you had to, before you timed out, you had to get back on the horse. You could ride the horse for another however many, 90 reps or whatever. And then you got more time. And it went like that until either you timed out or you hit the buzzer because you felt like your wall was high enough. So, Lamar timed out first. Is anybody surprised? Then Cynthia got hers to 9 and decided that's good enough. Cynthia, as someone who was on the block, you should have been the last person. Like, I don't care. You should have just kept doing it until you just physically, either you tapped out or you just really had a good number. But 9, baby girl, she was banking on everybody either timing out or not being able to get their thing built. Shayna got to, what did she have, 29 or something like that? And she hit her buzzer. So now everybody has to beat her time of 29 or whatever. Because I forgot to say who's playing. Cynthia, well, we know Cynthia. Todrick, Shayna, and Lamar. So, everybody's trying to beat Shayna's time. It comes down to Carson and Todrick. Carson ends up timing out because he was paying so much attention of trying to get his wall that he ran out of time. Todrick now is alone, and all he has to do is focus on building up the wall, and he times himself out as well. So the winner of the HOH is Shayna. But here's what was, of the veto was Shayna. But here's what was interesting while that was going on. Once it looked like Shayna was going to probably win, Misha goes up to Shayna and gives her permission to use the veto on Cynthia. Misha was like, thank you, I guess. And again, it just goes to show that Misha really thinks that she is running this house, that everything and everybody is at her beck and call. Like, I know that a lot of times we don't want to offend the HOH and we don't want to mess up their nominations. But at the end of the day, you don't have an alliance with Shayna. You and Shayna aren't, like, y'all not working together. So what makes you think you can give her permission or as to whether she's going to use the veto or not, and who she can use it on? What if she wanted to use it to take Carson off the block? You're telling her it's okay if you take Cynthia off the block. What? So then after, Shayna officially wins, now it's time to figure it all out and put the pieces into place. So Misha says, hey, who from my alliance is willing to be a pawn? Well, Chris is sitting there. Todd's like, I don't care. You can put me up. I'm not worried. I know we got the numbers. Because, again, Todd really thinks he's a part of their alliance. That's funny. So Chris goes and lets Shayna know, listen, they anticipate you taking Cynthia off the block. Todd said he'll go up in her place. If we can get that to happen, we can flip the house, vote Todd out, and then we have the numbers. Here's the reality. That was a great freaking plan. Chris, you screwed up your own plan. Here's how you screwed up your own plan. Todrick, once again, gets in Misha's head and said, wait a minute. We should put up Chris. Why would we put up Todd? Let's put up Chris. If Chris is our next target, why not put him up there? And if one of them goes home, we win-win either way. Either Carson or Chris. Win-win deal. So Misha says, but Chris has been solid. Chris is on our side. Well, let me go talk to Chris. So she moses on over to have a conversation with Chris. She asked Chris point blank, if I put Todd on the block, are you going to vote for Carson? Chris, all you had to do was look that woman in her face and say, yeah, that's the plan, right? But you kept talking around it, and she's not stupid. She realized that you did not give her a straight answer. She realizes that you didn't point blank say, yes, I'm voting for Carson. He's our target. We got to get him out of this house. You kept saying, that's the plan, right? I mean, that's what we agreed to, right? That's what we said. And the fact that she kept asking you for clarification should tell you she wasn't buying what you was selling, bruh. And for him to say, I want to play this game with integrity, then you shouldn't be on Big Brother. If you want to play the game with integrity, then you should be on like The Amazing Race or something where people just race around the damn world. And sometimes people get a little catty, but for the most part, you don't have to be catty to win. In Big Brother, you have to be catty to win. I'm sorry, I don't care what nobody says. Everybody gets a little blood on their hands. If you get to the end, you got some blood on your hands. However, whoever, whatever you had to do. Okay? So for you to sit there and say, well, I didn't want to lie straight to her face, boy, bye. So when he wouldn't give her a straight answer, she puts him on the block. Shayna uses the veto to take to take Carson down, instead of Cynthia, and she replaces it with Chris. And I'm like, duh, bruh, all you had to say was, but the fact that Shayna took Carson down instead of Cynthia, it still might have threw Misha in a tailspin, and she still might have put Chris up because that wasn't what she was planning. She was planning on having an easy alley-oop by putting Todd up there and them just voting out Carson. So she still might have done it, but in my mind, all you had to do was say no. So that's what it is. So we have Carson and, we have Cynthia and Chris on the block now. Now let's get to the shot heard around the world that everybody's been talking about, the argument between Todd and Cynthia. So let me start here. Unpopular opinion. Lamar Odom started this fight. Did anybody pay attention to Lamar Odom? Lamar Odom started this fight and Lamar Odom instigated this fight. Let's talk about it. Lamar is talking to Todd and they're talking about who they're going to vote for. And Lamar says, I want to save Cynthia. And Todd is like, I don't know. I just can't vote for Cynthia. I don't know. I still don't feel good about the fact that she voted for me. And Lamar was like, you still on that? Like, you still mad about that? And he was like, yeah, man, I don't know. I just don't get over stuff easily. And Lamar was like, but, like, that happened. Like, that's over. Like, we on something totally different. Like, you can't, what? So, let me rewind because I don't want to blame Lamar for something he didn't do. But somehow or another, Cynthia is talking to Todd about his vote. And Cynthia's like, I don't understand why you're still mad at me. She was like, we talked about it. I thought we were good. Like, I thought we had that conversation and I thought we were good. She said, I had an alliance with Teddy. Me and Teddy were in the same alliance. I didn't have a relationship with you. We hadn't talked game. We didn't have an alliance. She said, it would seem to me like you would be happy that I'm the kind of person that keeps my word to my friends. Like, that should mean more to you than the fact that I didn't vote for you and we didn't have nothing. We didn't have a relationship. We didn't have a friendship. We didn't have an alliance. We didn't have nothing. I don't understand why you still mad about that. And Todd was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So here come Lamar from out of nowhere. Lamar said, because he a punk. And Todd says, well, on the street, what do you say? On the street, you give somebody your word, that's your word. Or something like that. And Cynthia was like, exactly. I gave my word to Teddy. Like, what are you talking about? We didn't have nothing. I thought he was going to say to Lamar on the street, when you call somebody a punk, you get your ass whooped. But he act like he didn't even hear what Lamar said. And he goes back to Cynthia. So him and Cynthia get into it. And Cynthia tells him what I just said. And Lamar is clapping. Like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I said, ain't nobody paying attention to Lamar instigating this whole situation. Ain't nobody noticing. that Lamar instigated this whole situation. So Cynthia walks off. She's pissed. She's heated. She leaves the kitchen. She walks past Todrick and Misha, and Todrick says to her, let me know when you want to talk. Again, as if he's the head of the household. I told y'all, Todrick is in charge of the girls. Todrick is in charge of the girls. And she says, I don't have anything to talk to you about. Todrick was shocked. He said, oh, you don't? As if, I know you better come kiss this damn ring. What are you talking about? And she told him, she said, listen, let me explain something to y'all. At this point, I don't like the way this game is being played. I don't like how this situation is turning out. And at the end of the day, if I walk out of here, I'm going to walk out with my integrity, and I'm going to walk out knowing that I played this game as a woman of my word. And with that, it is what it is. So she walks off. Here go Carson. She's okay. She's okay. Baby, you know how you get mad and you say what you got to say, but then you think about it some more and you like, oh, hell no, I got more to say. Baby, Cynthia got up. She walked back in that kitchen and she proceeded to continue to give Todd Bridges his ass handed to him. Talking about if the situation were reversed, you would do the exact same thing. So for you to be mad at me and judge me for defending my friend and voting for my friend, she was like, how dare you? Oh, she went off on Todd. That is the clip that we saw when we saw Todd yelling. We didn't see them actually get in each other's face. And then we saw Todd walk off, talking about who she thinks she's talking to, yada, yada, yada. Ultimately, in my opinion, Cynthia wasn't, I don't feel like Cynthia was wrong. The where it started when she was like, you still mad about that? But I think she just got, again, you're in this house, you're pent up, the anger just builds up. And so I think the anger built up. But I understood exactly where she was coming from, what she was saying. And Todd, again, for you to be mad or be in your feelings because, what were you saying that you didn't want to say? Do you feel like she shouldn't have voted for you because you were a black man and that y'all all should have been together like Black People United? Did you think that y'all should have started like a whole cookout part 2? Like, is that where you were coming from? Is that why you really mad? Because if that's why you really mad, then say why you really mad. But don't sit there and pretend like it's about one thing when it's about something else, okay? But anyway, that's the argument, child. Now, I don't know if they good or not because next thing you know, we got to the vote and Cynthia looked like she's still mad. She looked like she's still in her damn feelings. But ultimately, the vote was 5-0 to keep Cynthia and to vote out Chris Kilpatrick. Chris said he was a little annoyed that he didn't get the vote from Shayna, but he absolutely understood her voting with the House just to maintain. His thing was, but we won. Like, we were able to flip the House. We were able to make sure that we kept Carson and kept Cynthia. And technically, I was in her alliance, so she kind of lost an alliance member, technically. Yeah, that's all well and good, Chris, but I feel like it might have been different. I feel like y'all would have been able to pull out the perfect coup d'etat had you just looked that woman in her face and said, yes, I'm going to vote for Carson. Anyway, we'll never know now. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.